Hello, welcome to Curry Girl Tech Talk. I am Krystal Curry. Thank you for joining us. Today is episode 2 of our 6-part series about artificial intelligence. As a quick recap, we talked about what artificial intelligence really means. We discussed the historical timeline and foundational concepts. Dr. Laurie took us through a storied journey of machine learning. And today we are discussing harnessing the power of AI. We want to provide you with ways to leverage AI to enhance your lives, grow your businesses, and prepare for the future. I'm talking tech today with Gregory Richardson, our special guest.
Thanks for having me, Krystal. It's a great opportunity to be here on your podcast. You're talking about a subject that is particularly of interest to me, has been for a couple of decades now, AI. Even though AI is, kind of popularized now, I've been using it in my day job for many years. So I've always been very close to it. So I'm very passionate about making sure people are equipped to use it effectively, and B, distilling some of the myths and fears around it. Because it seems to be a new technology to a lot of people, to the general population for sure. It oftentimes there's misunderstandings about it. It was going to take over or whatever have you. So if I can help dispel some of those myths and concepts, I think we've done some good work. So that's kind of a little bit about me. I touched on already. I work in an industry that's used AI for many years. The industry is cybersecurity. I'm an ethical hacker. Have been. That's pretty much the only job I've had since I came out of college in the late 80s, I think it was 1990 when I finished college. And by finished, I mean dropped out. I did not complete college. I left. I wanted to work. I wanted to get to cracking in the industry, and I did. And I was very grateful for being able to work and stay active in this industry for as long as I have been. So that's a little bit about me. Bottom line is I'm a nerd. I like techie stuff. You have me in a room here with computers and screens and microphones, and that's helping me get a little bit more comfortable. So that's Greg in a nutshell.
Oh, awesome. I am glad that you're here. And I think one of the things that I do hear a lot from people who are not familiar with artificial intelligence or are wondering about artificial intelligence are the very same concerns that you brought up. Like, it's here to take our jobs. Today, I think it's going to be helpful because what we want to do is dispel some of those rumors and talk about how they can leverage it in their lives and make the most of the technology that is here, that I think is revolutionary and here to stay.
Let me interject on that. That's a phenomenal point. And that's one of the big things that when I'm doing talks, whether it's on a stage or, in an office or on a podcast or interview or whatever, it's one of the first things that typically comes up. Oh my God, is AI going to take my job? Or I'm afraid that AI is going to take my job, or some version of that. And a mentor professor of mine actually told me this about 2 or 3 weeks ago. And he's in the insurance industry. He's an actuary, so works with a lot of statistics and stuff. And one of the things they say in their industry, which is very numbers centric, they deal with numbers all day. And one of the things he said, and this is what I want to tell your audience, AI is probably not going to take your job. Your competitor that uses AI is probably going to take your job. Because what AI is, box it into very simple, a tool. Hammer, screwdriver, pliers, pick a tool. It's a tool. In an industry or whatever marketplace that you're in, if half the people are doing the work by hand and the other half are doing the same work but with tools, the people that are doing it with the right tools have an advantage.
Yes.
They probably can. When tractors came about, the people that were using tractors were able to dig twice as far, 10 times as far as the people that were still using humans with shovels.
Right.
Humans with shovels have value. They're good. They get the job done. Yes. The tractor gets the job done way quicker.
That's right.
AI is your tractor to shift you. So whatever industry you're in, I strongly suggest you look for Where are the opportunities that I can use AI as a tool to make me more effective at what my job is? That's how you ensure your job is going to be in place. So AI, probably not going to take your job. The person using AI in the cubicle next to you, or the business if you're an entrepreneur that's using AI in the same space that you're in, they are the ones that are probably going to steal customers from you because they're going to get more done in the same amount of time as it takes you to do one thing.
I think that's an excellent point, and that's the primary reason for this episode is for you to know that you can use AI technology to give yourself a competitive advantage over someone that is in the same business space or doing something, similar to what you're already doing. And you can leverage AI. And we're going to give you some tips and tools that hopefully help you with that. One of the things that I am, as a technologist, I understand that people who are in this field or have traditionally been in technology as we have, like started back in the 90s. I also, completed college in the 90s, mid 90s. And what I want to know is for those who are in traditional technology jobs, what types of things can they do if they want to just get into AI? What kind of things would you advise them to do?
Okay, so I want to make sure I'm understanding the question right. What kind of things can tech people do to get focused? So you're already a tech person, but now you want to double down and go into AI as a career. What are the things that you can do?
Yes.
Gotcha. That's actually maybe one of the easier jumps because whereas there are large groups of people, large demographics, older people, people above 35, et cetera, that are antagonistic against technology because they didn't grow up like even me, probably even you probably didn't grow up with, a cell phone in your hand the way my 16-year-old daughter has had a cell phone, easily since she started going to school.
Right.
So, whatever, 6, 7, 8 years, 10 years, something like somewhere around there, it was normal for her to have a cell phone. That wasn't normal for us. So she's less antagonistic against tech. She's very comfortable with, I'm going to use tech. So a tech person tends to be more comfortable with that. So how can a tech person pivot into AI? My first question would be cautious with it. Because why are you pivoting into AI? Is it because it's the popular thing today, the buzzword today? If that's your only motivation, you probably shouldn't pivot into AI. If you have something you're passionate about and you it's on your heart, you feel like this is what I should be doing, and that's probably your career already. Let's say hypothetically you're a programmer, a network engineer, or something like that, and you want to use AI in that space to make you more effective. Yes, then there's lots of places you can do that. For a tech person, probably the first thing I would recommend today in today's market, 2 specific courses I would tell you get into. There's one from Microsoft, and I'll share the links with you so that you can share it with your audience. And there's one from Google. And both of them are free, 100% free. As a matter of fact, here's caveat number 1. There's lots of courses and courseware out there on, how to use AI and, amplifying your work or your business with AI. You probably want to avoid all of those for the next couple of years because they are probably less legitimate. That's why I'm specifically pointing your audience to the Microsoft course on generative AI and the Google course on AI fundamentals and generative AI. Like I said, I'll provide the links for both. Those courses get you a solid foundation on this is what AI can do. These are what it's good for. This is how you make it do what you want to do. Why is that important? Because that will equip you with what you need to now take the AI that you've learned about and apply it to wherever, whatever industry you want to move it in. So whether it's marketing, whatever, you can now apply AI to that. So that would be step 1. How would you get a techie to be more AI savvy and more into AI? That's how I would do it. Take those 2 courses and just rethink the whole approach to, okay, what I'm already doing today, how can I amplify that with AI?
Right. Because we already went through, and I know like for machine learning, one of the things we learned in episode 1 is that machine learning involves large volumes of data and feeding, data models with this data. And one of the things that we already went through as technology professionals is the big data boom, another buzzword that we had. And so if you were a part of that, you can leverage the knowledge that you already have about big data to move into this space.
Matter of fact, that's an excellent point. Matter of fact, I'll go further. The reason why, this is my opinion, but this is probably a well-educated opinion, but maybe one day I'll write a white paper or a book on this. The reason why we have the boom in specifically generative AI right now, I believe it is because of the big data boom. What the big data boom, and as a matter of fact, we'll take a step back. What drove and what I mean by the big data boom, suddenly everyone was collecting everything.
Right.
Suddenly everyone had the ability to collect everything, so they started collecting everything, and now they have, when I say collect everything, data about everything. Super good example, in real time right now, AT&T is reporting that 110 million of their customers' data was hacked for a period of time in 2022. They just reported this now. It's in the news. You Google it, you'll find it. It's not hidden secret. It's very public. Everyone's out there talking about it. And what was hacked was typically, a bank gets hacked, someone gets hacked. You figure they have your personal information, credit card number, address, name, first name, last name, maybe date of birth. That's it. And so that's what you would think was hacked from AT&T. No, that was hacked. But what was also hacked is call records and text records of every transaction that happened for those 110 million customers for a span of time.
Wow.
And as you dig deeper into it, it became obvious that not only were the call records, so Krystal called Greg at 2 a.m. on August the 1st, 2022, they have that record. But they also have the record of when Krystal called Greg. Greg was at home at this address, and Krystal was in New York at this address. AT&T was not just storing number X calling number Y.
Right.
They were storing a bunch of other data around it. What's the location of where number X was when they were calling? What model phone was Krystal calling Greg from? Krystal has an Apple, Greg has an Android. Greg was on a Pixel 7, Krystal was on whatever, iPhone, pick the favorite iFruit, whatever. All of that AT&T was storing. That's because of the big data. So they had the ability to store lots of stuff, and with that storing lots of stuff, at some point they started thinking, what can we do with all this stuff we're storing? That's where machine learning comes in.
Right.
That's where predictive technology comes in. And AI is good for all of those. So because the data was there, the technology that already existed for ages to do, for example, predictions, Krystal is always at home somewhere between 3 to 4 p.m. So if I see for a month, every Monday, Krystal is at home between 3 and 4 p.m., I could start predicting on a Monday so I can make sure ads are queued up on her YouTube, on her TV, so that she's getting the right ads because I know she's going to be home. Matter of fact, and they literally do this now. Krystal's going to be home, and half of those Mondays between 3 to 5, she goes and she orders DoorDash. So it would make a lot of sense to, between 2 and 3, before you get home, start pumping you ads for foods. Hey, when you get home, you could order DoorDash from Bojangles, blah, 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 blah.
Right.
So they are doing those predictions for monetary reasons.
Well, I can imagine that having the expertise in cybersecurity, that brings up a good point for you in how to protect us from those type of data breaches. What kind of advice do you have for us in terms of, shoring up our cybersecurity?
I'll answer that by continuing the same analogy because I found analogies resonate well. So you're concerned about we'll continue on the AT&T breach. So AT&T was collecting all of this information and it got breached. So that's a risk. And that, drove, all of these problems we're seeing now, and we're probably going to see more. But why was AT&T able to store all of that information? Because of the big data, explosion and good explosion. The big data, boom that happened a couple of years back. And what was that? Hey, Databricks, Snowflake, Google Cloud, Amazon, AWS allows you the ability to very easily without having to invest in big data centers and big warehouses full of computers. You could just get an account on AWS, and when you get 10 records, store it up there. When that 10 records grows to 10,000, they'll add more servers for you. It's transparent. You don't even have to do nothing. When that 10,000 grows to 1 million, no problem. It spins up more. You get a bill for it, but it's growing while you're growing. You couldn't do this 10 years ago.
Right.
So the cloud boom led to the data boom, which led to the AI boom. So what's the thing that you need to start paying attention to answer your question about security? If you're going to, try to do these things in a desirable manner, it's where all your data is stored. So if your data is stored up in the cloud, which it probably is if you're doing AI and heavy analytics and storing a lot of, records about customers or whatever have you, you need to be very, very methodical and have a process in place early on that, listen, this is how I'm going to treat my customer data. I'll give you a real world example of that. An AI use case that's very simple. But it has security repercussions, which me as a ethical hacker came to mind immediately. So I built this little app. It's called ActiScribe. It allows you to do transcription. So you go into like a meeting like this. I could have had ActiScribe open on my phone right now, and I could have transcribed this entire session of us sitting here. I didn't, but I'm sure you could do it afterwards. But either way. So ActiScribe takes audio, talking, could be from a YouTube video, Spotify, could be from live conversation, a meeting, whatever, and uses AI to transcribe it. I realized if I were to use this as a tool and sell it to people, someone's going to have a confidential conversation that they need transcribed one of these days. So what's the system that I put in place from the onset? I told my customers, listen, we can go two ways about this. We can be very security focused, which means I'll take your audio recording, I'll give it to my AI, I'll tell my AI you're not supposed to train on it, you're not supposed to do anything with it. All you're going to do is transcribe it and send the transcription back to the customer. And then I delete that audio. In a normal workflow, it would not be crazy to say, listen, customer uploaded an audio to me, I keep the audio. And then next week, the customer comes back and says, hey, I want to, transcribe this audio. I can look through the records. Oh, you've already sent that to me. No worry to do it again. My system doesn't do that. So it takes away the convenience of keeping a record of all the audios that you've transcribed. Why? Because I'm assuring you, I don't have your audio.
Right.
No one has it. You had it. The transcript went to you. We're not saving the transcript. We're not saving your audio. Why are we doing that? So if someone ever hacks into our servers, we have lawyers right now, doctors, psychologists, business people talking legit private stuff on our platform.
Right.
Someone ever hacks into us, all they're going to find is a bunch of nothing. Records that a transcript went to customer Z. Right. What was the transcript? We don't know. It went to customer Z. We deleted the email. Where's the audio? We don't know. It was transcribed. We deleted the email. Does the AI know the audio? No, because we've instructed the AI don't train on anything. So you have to be conscientious of the security ramifications of data at the beginning. That's how you secure data in this AI world. As an entrepreneur, meaning to your audience that are entrepreneurs, as you're thinking up use cases of, hey, maybe I could start a business by doing so and so and so with AI, always think on the repercussions of afterwards. Listen, what's the bad thing that could happen if someone got this information that I'm storing? Because you're spot on when you say AI works on the more data you give it, the better it gets tuned, the more it learns, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So you're hungry to collect data. That's why organizations like Facebook and Google and Amazon came up with the Google Home or the Amazon Alexa, because that's a great collection point.
Yeah.
Because now rather than and that feeds AI. Right. Rather than just needing to track where AT&T says Krystal's phone is, when Krystal comes home, she's probably saying, okay, Alexa, so-and-so and so-and-so and so, because that's very convenient. I do it in my house. My shopping lists are on there. My wife and everyone else is yelling through the house all the time saying, hey, add this to the shopping list. And when I go to Kroger or Publix or wherever, boom, the shopping list is on my phone, and it's 10 things my daughter said, the 3 things my wife said, and the 8 things I said. It's convenient. But that means I now have this, that for that convenience, I now have this thing. It's collecting all of the data in my house. How do I know it's not collecting our other conversations?
Right.
It might be.
Yeah.
So with the volume of data that these large organizations are tempted to collect, because the more data they have, the more they can very narrowly focus your needs. They can hone into your preferences really well. And that's valuable. Like that has, I'll give you, I believe it. As a matter of fact, I won't say the name of the company, but I was working on securing this project, which is an AI-based project for a large, let's call them a grocery store. And they are busy deploying cameras right now throughout their grocery stores across the world, so that when you walk in the grocery store, they are tracking you as you walk around in the grocery store. That's not abnormal. Kroger's does that, Walmart does that. Everyone tracks you for theft. They're tracking you for a different reason. If you walk past in this grocery store, the cereal aisle, and you linger for a minute, like you say, oh, the cereal looks, you don't buy it, you don't pick it up, you don't take it off the shelf. You just look at it and read it. That cereal looks cool. And then you walk away. It collects that and it sells it to the marketing companies, Facebook, Google, et cetera, et cetera. So that now you'll start getting commercials in your Facebook feed, in your Instagram feed for that cereal and other things related to that cereal. Because they know something about that cereal caught Krystal's eye. We see that already now. Many people have joked about it. If you talk about something, hey, I'm interested in Alexis. Then you go home, suddenly Lexus starts popping up on your YouTube feed. And suddenly you see Lexus all over. Some of that is bias, but some of it is data is being collected on you so they could target you really, really, really well. You type on your computer, hey, I'm looking to try to book a cruise. I guarantee you, on your phone, you're going to start getting Facebook feeds about cruises. Yeah. Because they're exchanging information.
Well, one of the things we want to do, this is really, really good information, because one of the things we want to do is we want to protect the data that we deem to be private or important. And those are some helpful tips into making sure that from the onset, especially for entrepreneurs, like you said, of making sure that we intentionally set up the security design in the beginning. That way, later on, we're not having conversations about,
oops, I wish I didn't say
right,
this.
Like
I guarantee you AT&T right now is saying, well, I wish I wasn't tracking that location data, because they don't need it, really and truly. They definitely don't need to stick it in the database. At least I'm not a telephony guy, so maybe there is a valid reason for them tracking that kind of stuff, but they probably don't need it for maximum efficiency, but it's useful for marketing. So, they're probably right now saying, was the money we made by selling that location data worth the stress that we're going through now, apologizing to customers and the loss we're going to take, and probably have to pay people a year's worth of and the trust. Is it worth it? I don't know. For a small entrepreneur, that if a slip up happens in that space in your business, that could literally be the end of your business. Right. I've seen that. Right. I've seen a company moderately small. This was in South Carolina. They were doing this was before 23andMe. They were doing like online blood testing or something like that, and they got hacked, some cybercrime criminal or whatever stole a couple thousand records. Nothing crazy. You couldn't see persons' names, but you could see, hey, you had 1,000 blood samples, and this is what the blood samples were. I think it was like checking for diseases or something like that. And HIPAA has a requirement that for every X amount of records that get leaked from you, there's a fine. Yeah. The fine literally closed this company down. Like they had hundreds of thousands of records. That's a big couple deal. Thousand was leaked. And for each 1,000, I think it was $10,000 fine. They closed them down. Done. The business ended.
That reminds me of all these Sarbanes-Oxley requirements and all that we had. It's a big deal whenever you're collecting that kind of data to make sure
be conscientious of it. Yeah. Be conscientious of the data you're collecting as an entrepreneur, and I'll give you the consumer perspective of this as well. Be conscientious of the data you're collecting as an entrepreneur, and ensure that the data you're collecting is narrowly used for exactly what you need it to be used for. Right. There's always a temptation there, if I can get these 12 other things, tomorrow I might be able to do X, Y, Z with it. But until you're actually using it for that and you're doing what you promised your customers to do with the data, you're probably better off not collecting excessive data. That's right. So that's one. From the consumer perspective, and this is tough in our day and age because we live in a data-centric time where everything is data, and everything's trying to get data from you whether you realize it or not. From a consumer perspective, it is your responsibility as a consumer to try to be as aware as possible on who are you giving your data to freely. So I often say, Facebook. Everyone gets a Facebook account. Now, nowadays, probably less Facebook. The young people are probably more onto some other platform. But the conversation is the same for whatever platform of choice that you jump on. Read those terms and conditions. Yeah. Are you sure that you're okay with, I'll pick on one. I'll pick on a popular one. Are you sure you're okay with TikTok collecting not just the videos that you laughingly make when you're giggling around with your friends or whatever, or you're out on a date and you didn't like Cheesecake Factory, whatever. Not just those videos, because you're giving that to TikTok as well. But you're also letting TikTok collect off of your phone records, because it's on your phone. So who did you call? What time did you call them? When are you most active on your phone? What websites you're going to? Geolocation. You have a tracker on you at all times, which is your phone, because it has GPS in it. Are you sure you're okay with a company in China owning all of that data about you into perpetuity?
Yeah, that's
why I don't have a TikTok. And I'm not propagating you shouldn't have TikTok account. That's not what I'm saying. But I'm saying I am not comfortable with it. Right. That's why for me personally, my wife has a TikTok account. My daughters have TikTok accounts. I'm not banning TikTok. But I'm telling you, for me personally, I get the heebie-jeebies about it. So what would I do as a consumer? What would I recommend to your audience that are consumers? You be responsible for who you're giving that data to. At least think about it. And at least be aware that, okay, if I'm giving my data to Google and Facebook and they're going to be able to target me with ads, that means I need to be aware that when I'm being targeted, it's not just because it's a good idea. It's because I've given them my data. So they're able to target me really well. Another thing, what's the word I'm looking for? Confirmation bias is the term. That's probably even bigger problem than marketing. Because what confirmation bias does is it finds the topics and the sides of controversial topics that you land on, and it feeds you other people or other opinions that align with yours. Your bias, and you see this in politics all the time, you're going to get inundated with data and other opinions that align to yours. So what's that doing? It's confirming your bias. If all you hear is opinions of other people that are also saying, yeah, you're going to feel like it's the whole entire world that agrees with me. Yeah. And then when you come across a normal human in your day-to-day life off of the computer that doesn't agree with you, the animosity against them is super high because it appears to you this is the only lunatic in the world. Large organizations, governments, political parties, etc., and anyone that wants your or your opinion or your money plays that confirmation bias with you a lot. So be aware that when you start seeing a bunch of posts on your feed, your social media feeds, that all say XYZ candidate is terrible because blah, 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 maybe it's your confirmation bias playing into it. Maybe it's time. I literally told this to my mother a couple of days ago. Maybe it's time for you to switch channels just to hear the other side of the story. Yeah. Because there's always at least two, usually three sides to a story.
Yeah, and I think that helps us grow intellectually as individuals. You're right. But I do want to circle back to one more thing. Sure. One of the things I know as a professional is that if we're truly successful, then we are streamlining some business processes. How do you feel about what it's doing with traditional business models, and what kind of advice can you give people? I know one of the things we said is to leverage AI yourself.
You're using your skill set, you're gaining a new skill set, and you're using it to become invaluable to the process. That's not an AI problem. Mm-hmm. And I would suggest that it's not a major shift in business process. It's the normal, any good business is always looking, and I'll take a step back. Any good entrepreneur is always looking for, how can I what's the business opportunity in solving this problem for my market? So I'll keep using ActiScribe as an example. ActiScribe, I saw a need for people who wanted good transcriptions and meeting summarizations of their meetings. So I thought that could be useful there. So I built a tool that does that, and that's the market I am targeting, full stop. If the market doesn't need that, then I'm not building a tool. So first step is, how can you do something as an entrepreneur that solves a legitimate problem for somebody that has the problem? Mm-hmm. And are there enough people that have that problem? That's part one. As a consumer, an employee, someone working in a business, it's the same fundamental question. Mm-hmm. How can you solve something for that business to make whatever the business is doing more efficiently? 10-ish years ago, there was more than 10 years ago, there was a big move towards word processors. And everyone was going around putting on their resume, I know how to use, it seems trivial now because
But it was a big deal then.
But it was a big deal because not everyone knew. Why? Because people used to use typewriters.
Right.
And the people that used typewriters were not necessarily instinctively good at using word processors. So a lot of people went and retrained. Mm-hmm. And my mom was one of them. My mom's 80-something years old. She went and she retrained from being a nurse to let me figure out how to use word processing really. And she became a subject matter expert on word processing. And she was out, I can be a great assistant because I know word processing. And they were like, absolutely, you can. So her skills on taking notes, and that's one of the things, she used to be a nurse, taking notes and being very, detailed on the notes and stuff, but she used to take notes by hand. That same skill set, that personality trait translated really well to being a phenomenal, administrator in an office, but doing it on computer.
Right.
So
there are definitely transferable skills that we can always use, in our careers. And I agree with you. We shouldn't be timid or afraid of the technology itself, but embrace the technology instead and find out ways that we can leverage it in our lives.
100% on it. And I'll continue going down that road. This is the AI podcast, so let's talk about AI. How do you figure out, as both a business person and as a consumer, person working in a company or whatever, how can AI solve problems for me or make me more efficient at solving problems? Let me dig into that kind of deeply for you right now. AI is good at a lot of things.
Hi, everyone. I hope that you're enjoying episode 2 with Gregory Richardson. We are running out of time for today's episode, but I wanted to tell you guys, no worries. We will be back next week with part 2 of Harnessing the Power of AI. And don't forget, coming up, we still have our episode with the gamer. I can't wait for that. We're talking metaverse. Don't forget to join us for that episode as well. And check our website at currygirltechtalk.com, where you can find links to the AI tools that we've discussed today and more. If you missed episode 1, we are in the midst of an AI giveaway. If you would like to participate, visit the website at currygirltechtalk.com and enter to win. Thank you for joining the podcast today. I'm Krystal Curry. Take care.